sheeple, lazy and evil. For years I've watched y'all allow Donald Trump turn you to crazy people. Where's that freedom eagle when you...
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite from November the 12th, 2021. Jungle Boy defeats Bobby Fish in a pretty good match. Fish worked the arm. He kicked him 100 times. But the kick was his downfall as Jungle Boy counters the kick into the snare trap. Bobby Fish submits. Adam Cole comes out to attack him post-match. Fish and Cole ended up hugging and then jumping Jungle Boy. Luchasaurus and Christian Cage come out there to make the save. And Cole leaves Fish to get beaten up. And this was all pretty typical, you know. I don't really care for the idea that, you know, AEW's whole gimmick now is, oh, well, WWE did it, so, you know, we should do it too when it comes to like Undisputed Era or stuff like that. I get it. You sign the guys, you might as well get what you can out of it. But the whole marketing gimmick of Undisputed Era, you can't really use it. So I mean, you got to come up with something else. What you gonna do? Come up with Disputed Era? I don't know. You want to come up with some kind of knockoff version? But in any event, Bobby Fish and Jungle Boy had a pretty good match. You know, Bobby Fish is a hell of a worker, despite the fact he looks like the man on the Pringles can. And Jungle Boy can hang too, despite having no personality whatsoever. You know, he's a good mechanic. Somebody needs to get in there and force that kid to learn how to talk and force him to learn his promos. But since while I am on the subject of Adam Cole, he ended up face-to-face with Hangman. And he and Hangman had a couple of words. A lot of people were like, oh, there's seeds being planted here. I'm like, yeah, we'll probably revisit this in July. And then we'll pretend that it was a long-term booking plan. And not something somebody forgot and then managed to come back to. In this situation, Hangman wanted to apologize to the Young Bucks. He cost them the tag team championships, and they cost him the world title. And he says, well, now that we're even, you know, so Saturday, if you guys interfere, I'm going to ruin you. And I kind of believed it. And there was some legitimate menace there with Hangman. It's like, well, it's interesting that he actually remembered that they screwed each other out of titles and that he's dead serious about winning this belt. This is his one and last shot, probably. And despite the fact that, you know, everybody's throwing a parade for him already and talk about how AEW was for him and everything, all of this was for him. It was all for you, Hangman. It's all for you. You know, despite all of that, he's still treating it not like a foregone conclusion on TV. Outside of TV, it's been treated like a foregone conclusion, like he's already the damn champion. They're basically telling you, buy a ticket to come see Hangman Page win the title. There is, you know, not even the hintest of hints that Hangman is going to lose. It's all about Hangman winning. But Hangman versus Cole is a good idea. You know, the Battle of the Atoms, the Children of the Atom, is an interesting match for them to have. You know, not quite the match I wanted, but it's good for Cole. You know, it's not doing Young Buck shit, you know, so that's good. But I'm very interested in this, and of course the Young Bucks are going to interfere. And I still expect Hangman Page to win. I expect the Super Click to interfere. I expect, you know, probably the Good Brothers to be there, all kind of stuff. But ultimately, Hangman will win. They did a vignette for Miro and Brian. Who cares? Jade Cargill defeated Santana Garrett. There was a cake. Jade Cargill's 1-year anniversary to sign it to AEW. But Jade Cargill is shredded and doesn't eat cake. Because how dare she wouldn't dare eat a cake. Now, something might happen. She might end up with only a 15-pack if she ate a cake. So all of a sudden, of course, after she beats Santana Garrett, the cake ends up in Mark Sterling's face as Red Velvet attacks her after the match. Red Velvet does a good job of showing passion and intensity, despite the fact that she's a human botch machine and, you know, has 2 left feet and falls all over the place, which we'll see more of that, no doubt, in their match. But here she just looked very fiery, and she ended up slamming the cake into Mark Sterling's face because, hey, if you introduce a weapon, you got to use it at some point. They showed a vignette for CM Punk and Eddie Kingston. This is a part where I, instead of talking about their vignette, which matter of fact, let's talk about their vignette. Because Eddie Kingston said CM Punk never respected him. and that wanted to fight. He wanted to fight CM Punk anywhere. He wanted to fight him in the streets. He wanted to fight him in the parking lot. He didn't really want to fight him in the ring. And Punk said that the two of them are a lot alike. They're two kids from the street. Me from Chicago, him from New York. But it's not a question of how I'm going to beat Eddie Kingston. It's a question of how Eddie Kingston is going to beat himself, which is the story of his life. And there's this anonymous tipper who has put out this information that CM Punk once called Eddie Kingston fat, lazy, and unsafe. And that sounds like it was pretty bad. And this was 15 years ago. That sounds bad because he hasn't lost much weight, I would imagine. He hasn't lost much weight. I think he's a little bit more motivated now, Eddie Kingston. So maybe he's a little bit safer and maybe he's a lot less lazy. But if that's true and he called him fat, it sounds like a CM Punk thing, though. Because it sounds like similar to what he said about Ryback. That Ryback was stupid and unsafe and all that kind of stuff. So it sounds very similar. I would have liked for them to go into a little bit more detail with the Heat. I think that Booker T, who a lot of people attacked for, Booker T has bad takes. If anything, Booker T is trying to help the show by saying you rehashing old stuff that doesn't have any context for the average Joe. It's like the average person doesn't understand what you're talking about. We don't know where these guys were working when this happened. I still don't know. Again, I assumed it was Ring of Honor, but it could have been anywhere. We're just saying that these two guys know each other from the independents. They shared a locker room where CM Punk said some derogatory things about Eddie Kingston and harmed his career. CM Punk was a superstar. Eddie Kingston was a guy who was just coming up. And Eddie Kingston took that personally. And it makes sense that he would take that personally. But again, this is a story we should have started when CM Punk was brought in and not bringing up 2 weeks into the feud. And then we had one hot segment and then we didn't build on it at all. We had a pull apart brawl and a bunch of vignettes. I don't know about that. Still the most excited for that match though. Arya Daivari makes his AEW debut against Dante Martin. Both guys are from Minneapolis, which is where the show is, and they get chants that says both these guys. The AEW fan base, where the moment you show up, you're over. Arya Daivari never he was in WWE for like 2 or 3 years. I doubt he got any reaction. He comes to AEW once in his hometown. He's one of the most over guys on the roster. Absolutely insane. Arya Daivari is not a guy I dislike. He's not a guy that I liked either. He was okay as he sort of, when they started doing the money gimmick with him, when he was rich and he was showing up with cars and stuff. I remember him saying that Vince really liked that he was doing that, but it was odd that he was doing it on like 205 Live, which is probably why it kind of got the rug pulled out from up under him. But he was one of the original 205 Live guys. Like, he was part of that group that was constantly, on that show, trying to make it the best show. And for a while it was, to be quite honest, it was the best show they were producing, was 205 Live. It was better than NXT because it had its own contained storyline, its own contained characters, and it was fun to watch. And then they blew it up, everybody kept hearing about all the kick-ass matches they were having with Cedric Alexander and Buddy Murphy and Mustafa Ali, and they called Mustafa Ali up. But I guess all intentions of pushing him, but didn't quite pan out. Then it just went straight downhill from there. So Arya Daivari getting his shot in AEW. Not everybody acting like they're Arya Daivari fans, which, so phony, right? Arya Daivari rotted in WWE for several years. Nobody even mentioned his name. And now all of a sudden he's in AEW. It's like, oh yes, Arya Daivari. Hope he gets a contract, man. Hope he is such a great talent. Like, really? After all this time, he's a great talent? Oh, okay. Anyway, Dante Martin did all the flips because that's what he does. This was the 5th straight showcase for Dante Martin. After the match, though, we actually did an angle. Oh, we did an angle here. So, Team Taz looks to recruit Dante Martin. Ricky Starks makes the pitch, gives him a contract. And I wrote down immediately, isn't Dante Martin already signed to Lio Rush? Why are we doing this again? Now I'm guessing it's going to lead to Ricky Starks and Willie Hobbs versus, Lio Rush and Dante Martin. Maybe it's going to be a thing where Dante's brother wants to sign with Team Taz and Dante doesn't, or something to that effect. But it seems weird to me that Team Taz is. I mean, it seems okay that you're pushing this guy as a blue chip athlete, and you want him to be a part of your stable. All right, cool. He brings something different than the rest of everybody else in the stable. Ricky Starks is more the promo charisma guy. Willie Hobbs is your big muscular dude. Hook is Hook, and you need a high flyer. So if you were building a football team, you need a wide receiver. And so I guess that's what Dante Martin would be. He would be their wide receiver. So that would be good. But of course they're going to do this whole angle where, of course he's going to say no. And that's going to lead to him feuding with Starks and him feuding with Hobbs and him getting beat up. And then Lio Rush is going to be there, yada, yada, yada. It just feels really contrived. Like, we've already done this. Maybe if we did the whole Team Taz recruitment thing before Lio Rush showed up, and then Lio Rush kind of gives him a reason to not go to Team Taz, then that would have made a little bit more sense. But now that we've already did this whole thing where Lio Rush offered to sign him, then he did sign with him. So now you got Lio Rush, Taz, and Matt Hardy all doing the same gimmick. It's just like, I don't know about this, man. Like, I want to like it because I like Ricky Starks and I like Willie Hobbs. And Dante Martin might be able to have fun match with these guys, and they might be able to force him to wrestle and, or at least sell and, really get over their stuff and give him a storyline, something that he can build upon, something he can cut a promo about. But at the same time, it's wacky horse shit because, sure, Lio Rush, I think his grandma passed, so he's not going to be around. Who knows? It's not like he's going to be around forever. He didn't die. Maybe he's going to take off a couple of weeks. And then that's when they're going to do the pursuit. They're going to do the pursuit for a few weeks. But to me, it seems like they literally just did this with Team Taz. With who did they do it to? Where Team Taz tried to recruit them and he turned them down and he ended up feuding with them. I feel like they just did this. It was like earlier this year too. So it wasn't that long ago. So I don't like it. I just decided I don't like it. You could have did something with somebody else. I respect the attempt, but it seems repetitive and uncreative. And it seems like we just did this with somebody else. All right, so the main event, Orange Cassidy versus Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy referred to Orange Cassidy as Pockets in his promo and said that he has no place in his business. Orange Cassidy just said, look, that's not good, but I just want this to be over. Please, can this be over? And they agreed that it will be over. Now, I did see a moron on Twitter ask the question about lumberjack matches. And despite the fact that he's a moron, it's actually a pretty good question. He said, I never understood the logic of lumberjack matches, especially since heels, who are bad guys, just wait patiently outside the ring instead of, jumping in the ring or pulling guys outside the ring to fight them. And I was thinking to myself, in a traditional sense, lumberjack matches don't really make sense when you have heels. Like, you have a mixture of heels and babyfaces out there. Sometimes they're going to find reasons to fight, which is usually what the cases are in the lumberjack match. But the heels are the ones that are more likely to interfere. They're not going to be the guys who are going to wait patiently, like they're, in the queue waiting to get seated at Red Lobster. That's not what's going on here. They're trying to start the fight. If you get close to the ropes, the heels are trying to pull you outside the ring to beat you up. And the baby faces are just want to throw you back in. Because the baby faces look at it like what's called a human cage. In WCW, they called it a human cage match, where I was very interested in what that was. And then I watched it, and it was Steamboat versus Vader. And it was just a lumberjack match. But you often see like the baby faces will grab you and throw you back in, similar to a cage. Or you get thrown into the cage, you bounce off the cage, you go back in. You know, and that's all the baby faces wanted to do. There's no cheap shots. They grab you and throw you back in. The heels, however, take cheap shots on the baby faces and the heels. Whoever the heel is, he's getting a cheap shot too. The idea of them working, the heels working together and all that kind of stuff is fairly new. In this match, however, you got these guys just running in the ring, doing all the flips, and guys taking long flips on each other. And I didn't know, and I never really understood lumberjack matches either, because it's like, are they no disqualification or are they not no disqualification? It's like they can't be no disqualification because, yes, they are outside the ring and you will be getting hit. But certainly that doesn't mean that a lumberjack can get in the ring and all of a sudden push you from the top rope in pure view of the referee, which happened in this match. Surely the lumberjacks, you getting beat up outside the ring because you were thrown outside the ring or you jumped outside the ring. It's a completely different context than lumberjacks getting in the ring to attack you. That all seems very strange. That all seems very odd to me. I don't get it. I didn't care about this match anyway. Orange Cassidy gets pinned after he gets blasted with some brass knuckles. Then everybody and best friends who were dressed like lumberjacks, but they're in chaos with Toru Yano and all these motherfuckers anyway. So the Hardy family office is left standing tall at the end of the show, which is of course what you want for your main event of your pay-per-view go-home show. You want all these guys who are not going to be featured on the show to be the last visual that people have for the show. And yes, I did see Matt Hardy miss completely that elbow drop. I did see that. It was funny. It was silly. Matt Hardy not taking it seriously. I don't understand how Matt Hardy has so many kids, if we being honest. Because I don't see how he move his legs. Like, Rebby, she's got to be doing the work. I don't think Matt Hardy's agility is even up to par for him to be able to to really get in there and plant that seed. She's got to be doing that, because you just look at Matt move, man. Like, it's impossible for me to believe that he's really, knocking that shit out the frame and knocking all these kids. Matt is basically bow-legged now. I mean, he's like an old cowboy. He just walks around like he's on stilts. It's a shame. But, hopefully Matt Hardy can retire gracefully. I don't see why he won this feud. Orange Cassidy beat Chris Jericho in a feud, and he loses a feud to Matt Hardy. How have the mighty have fallen? And speaking of fallen, I need to go to bed. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time, and I shall talk to you guys later. Peace.